Hey guys, Alex here from Studio Leicester, and today I wanted to follow up the video that I produced a few months ago detailing why I bought the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K over the A7S III. For people who have already seen that video, you'll know that a few months ago when I was looking at upgrading my equipment, I was at a bit of a crossroads in terms of which cinema camera I wanted to opt for next, and for a number of reasons I ended up choosing the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K, and a real discussion ensued on the channel here, and I wanted to follow up that video with a more hands-on kind of review of the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K. Now that I've used it a few times, I feel as though I'm in a much better place to kind of talk about how it functions on a wedding shoot rather than simply listing off a load of specs and reading off a spec sheet. So with that in mind, I've broken this video down into three main sections. The first one talks about things that I love about the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K, and the second section details some of the things I wish I'd known before I bought it, and the third section touches upon some of the things I don't like about the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K, because like all cameras out there, it's not perfect, and I don't want this to come across as like I'm a Blackmagic design salesman trying to pitch this camera to you. I wanted to offer something that is a quite honest review, and like I say, details some of the big hits and also the misses of this camera. So to get started, I'm going to start by detailing some of the things that I really like about this camera. The first one is kind of the most obvious, and I think anyone putting together a review of the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K says the same thing in this regard, and that is the picture quality is insane. It's so much better than the camera I was previously using, which was an A7 III. At this point here, I'm just going to show you a few clips that I've filmed on recent weddings, and the majority of these are shot at 6K 8:1 quality, and actually these shots were captured in quite bright sunlight, quite harsh conditions, but using a variable ND I've managed to soften down those skin tones, and in post-production especially I found that I've had tons of flexibility with these shots. I also like the fact that I was able to shoot at 120 frames per second in 2.8K without having to dive through a really long exhaustive menu. These shots were achieved with just a few clicks, and with this shot especially, I really like the way that the bride here frames the groom who's kind of having a chuckle to himself in the background. Another thing I like about this camera is that because the file sizes are so big and you've only got limited space filming with the T5, I really have to think about the composition and the shots that I'm filming on a shoot, rather than just leaving it recording, kind of filming away all day, as I used to do with the A7 III on a gimbal or a tripod. I mean, yeah, you could still shoot that way with the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K, but given that you're probably only going to get maybe 2 shoots max on a T5, it makes sense to space your shots out throughout the day and only capture bits that you're actually going to use in the edit, rather than just leaving your camera rolling and capturing a ton of B-roll that takes up valuable disk space. Another thing I like, and this is probably a bit of a controversial one actually, is the ergonomics and the weight of the camera. It feels to me really well made, and although it's not maybe as accessible as an A7 III or a G5, it does feel like a premium cinema camera, and taking it to shoots, you know, the brides and the grooms, they do kind of, you get that wow factor from them. And whilst that obviously isn't the most important thing, you know, wowing your clients with your kit, it is quite a nice thing to have. And lastly, one of the camera's other big wins is the fact that by importing LUTs, you can preview how your shots are going to look in post-production. And speaking of post, I don't know if you can see behind me here, but I've got the GeForce RTX 2070 Super, which whizzes through the Blackmagic RAW files with ease, something that I was a little bit worried about prior to buying the camera, but having used it and shot and edited a number of videos now, there's no problem in that regard. Now, those are the wins and the reasons why I love shooting with the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K, but for anyone out there who's thinking of getting one, I've got the standard model, and one of the things that I wish I'd known before I bought it is the fact that Blackmagic were literally weeks away from dropping the Pro version, which comes with built-in ND filters, a tiltable screen, and that's probably the main thing that I wish I'd known before buying it, is that this Pro model was just around the corner for a few £100s more, and had I waited just a few more weeks, I would have definitely opted for that model over the standard 6K. Another thing I wish I'd known before I bought the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K is an issue relating to battery life. Now, I know that anyone out there who's been on the forums will be like, Alex, how did you not know about the battery life issues with this camera? It's listed all over the internet. Now, I know the batteries that come with the camera are poor and it'll die after like 30 minutes of shooting 6K. But the issue that I have is that the Sony NP-Z100 batteries that I've bought to work with the Tilta hand grip, they take forever to charge. Now, the charger I'm using is this little thing that I got on Amazon. It's a power extra with 2 channels. You plug it in via USB and it charges up these NP-Z100s, but it takes forever to do that. I can leave them running, I don't know, overnight, let's say, for over a 7-hour night whilst I'm in bed, and wake up in the morning and find that they're still not fully charged. Now, for people like me who work on a number of shoots in quite a close space of time, that can be really prohibitive. Now, I don't know if I'm missing a trick and if there are faster chargers out there. If there are, please do let me know in the comments, because this is a real bugbear I have with this camera. I will go through 6 of these batteries in a shoot, and if it takes 7 hours to charge 2 of them, you do the math. You know, I'm going into some shoots the following day with only half my batteries charged, and I'm having to ask for charging stations and where are the plugs, and just hassle that I don't really want on a wedding day or even like a corporate shoot. So yeah, if there's any tips or equipment out there that you think is going to help speed up that charging process, please do let me know in the comments below. Okay, so now I've spoken about things that I like about the camera and some things that I wish I'd maybe known before I bought it. I'm going to talk about some things that I personally don't like about the camera and some other issues that I think other users might struggle with. So the main gripe I have with this camera is the transfer speed. So I plug a USB-C from the Samsung T5 external hard drive on the camera into my computer to transfer the files across after every single shoot. I back it up onto a hard drive and then upload them to the cloud just to make sure it's extra secure. Now, with the Sony a7 III, that process would take maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours tops. With the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K, that process again can take all night. And even longer sometimes. You know, there's been some shoots that I've worked on and I've uploaded the 6K footage to my computer, and it's taken 10 hours to go from the hard drive onto the external hard drive that you see behind me. Now again, I don't know if there's things out there that can help speed up that process, but that means that if I've got a wedding shoot on a Friday, I then can't back up that content on the Friday night and feel confident that it's going to be done by the Saturday morning. So with tight turnaround times, that's something that really bugs me and something that I am a little bit worried about for shoots later on in the year. Now, a way that I can get around that is to take my laptop with me and start the transfer over on the drive home, leave it running in the boot of the car, but that's not ideal. You know, I don't want to be leaving my laptop and my cameras exposed in the back seats or even in the boot whilst I'm stopping for food or fuel. I mean, I work all over the UK, so traveling back from Scotland, I'm going to stop I don't know, 2 or 3 times en route, and to leave that equipment in the back of the car, it doesn't feel like the most sensible option to me. So again, if there's anyone out there who knows of any tips or tricks or equipment that I need to speed up that transfer process, please do let me know, because that probably is my main bugbear. And another issue that I have is, I know I've already spoken about how much I like the Ergos and the weight and the look and feel of the camera, and that's because the camera works for me, because I hate gimbals. I've recently sold both of my gimbals, a Zion Crane and a Ronin SC, because I hate balancing them. I hate charging batteries for them. I find them a nuisance to balance. So I've gone for a Flycam Red King. Now, that probably places me in a minority of wedding videographers, because I know that Steadicams and glide cams and that type of thing is seen as a bit old hat and a bit mechanical, but I can use the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K on the Steadicam that I've got. People who own a Zion Crane 2 or like me, a Ronin SC, they're really going to struggle to balance this thing on there, and even if they do get it balanced, you're going to be limited to the lenses you can have on there. Which for gimbal users is going to be a real no-no. Obviously you can step things up and get the Ziontech Crane 3, but I don't know, these big weapons of gimbals coming through dance floors, to me they seem quite hazardous and cumbersome, and again just a nuisance to set up and to charge and to balance. So for anyone out there who likes using a gimbal and uses their camera on a gimbal throughout the wedding shoot, you're going to want to avoid any of the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema cameras, whether it's the 4K, the 6K, the 6K Pro. These cameras aren't going to be for you. But if, like me, you use glide cams or steady cams, or even just run and gun with the camera in the cage, the Blackmagic, you're not going to have a problem with the Ergos or the weight or the design of the camera. At this point, I'm going to say that even with those little gripes, I have absolutely loved working with the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K, especially in post-production. Some of those shots that I showed you earlier, I think are some of the best I've ever produced through Studio Leicester, and I'm really excited to push the camera further over a number of shoots I've got booked in for the summer. Now, if COVID restrictions continue to ease, which I think we all hope that they will, I'm not going to hesitate to invest more of my money in the Blackmagic ecosystem. I'm probably definitely going to get a Blackmagic 6K Pro, and given the prices of some of the 4K models going about for like under £1,000 on eBay and stuff, I might even get a third camera just to so I can have one mounted in the cage, mounted on a tripod, and mounted on the Steadicam at all times throughout the wedding day. I know that sounds a little bit OTT, but I just wanted to get the point across of how much these cameras are bringing to my wedding videography business. Okay, I guess this kind of concludes the whistle-stop tour of the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K and my kind of review, having used it now. So thanks to everyone who's watched all the way through. If you could give this content a like, subscribe as well if you're new to the channel. I know it's early days, but I do have some more vlogs lined up that I'm going to be talking about in the near future. Next up, I'm going to be talking about using steady cams and glide cams over gimbals and why I prefer them on wedding shoots. I'd also like to do some more videos about my setup and talk about how I record audio, which drones I recommend for weddings. That's not to say that I'm not open to new ideas as well. So if you guys have got any content ideas, whether it's about the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K or just general wedding videography questions, hit me up in the comments and I will get back to you. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll see you again next time.